Per usual, everything on this channel is for educational purposes only and is not intended as financial advice. Alright, so we're basically sideways. I'm going to take a look at some charts, run through top down as far as time frames are concerned. Generally when you're starting your session for TA, you want to start at the top, just so you have some sort of bias in mind, because higher time frame always wins. So when I'm looking at weeklies, super zoomed out, this is super loose, but I'm just looking at, fractals. Are we at an inflection point? Are we at, determination of reversal versus continuation? Again, this is super loose, but these are all here where these like double top, pullback sort of stuff, and we're kind of arguably in that similar spot. So sideways here kind of makes sense. Just looking at, we're on the latter quarter of this fractal, let's say. You can see these two, we obviously broke up. This one we didn't. This one we did. This one was an extended period of sideways. And then this one, who knows? But I'm just looking at this loosely, thinking, should I be in a position right now based on this? Probably not, just because it's going to be sideways for a little while longer. I think at least 2 weeks longer. We zoom in a little bit on the weekly, and I'm looking at order blocks here. Again, this is nothing new, but if you've never seen it broken down like this, seeing it like this might help you determine where to put your bids, where to put your asks, help see where the market is going in general based on the market memory principle. So all I'm doing is highlighting order blocks. Like I said, you can see this area in here has arguably been very tumultuous as far as it's either support or it's resistance. It's not one or the other. And currently we're in the support mode of this zone. We were in the resistance mode of this zone. So it makes sense why we bounced up, amongst other reasons. It also says, if we break this level, we're going to go back down to the bottom of this rectangle, which is around 440-ish. And then from there to the next order block, etc., etc. And if we look at this in a different way, so this is the weekly cloud, and the yearly pivots back this up as well. I'll show you that on the next chart. But basically, we're in the cloud, which says there's an indeterminate bullish-bearish bias. Once we're out of the cloud, I can say definitively, like up here, how there was a bullish bias, okay? So this could really go anywhere in the cloud until it's out. So I'm highlighting 3 scenarios here, which are kind of obvious sort of stuff. It's either going to go up, down, or it's going to sort of hit this valley and recover. Some arguments for the valley path are the flat Kumo. Again, anytime you see a flat line on the cloud, that says there's a probability greater than not a probability that price is going to hit that level. This is an example of that. This whole thing is an example of that. What are flat Kumos? Flat Kumos are 50% fibs generally. So if you fib all-time high to low, we hit the 50% fib of that. So there's some argument for some massive down based on this Kumo twist, which people aren't going to like to hear, but it's there. It doesn't say it's going to happen. It says there's a probability that if it does happen, that's where it will happen, that there's room for that to happen. It says that there's no support in this area. So this would be post-2017. So we'll see. But the cloud says, watch this zone for as far as like the time frame that we can see the massive pullback. So if we look at the yearly pivots, I posted this on Twitter the other day, but you can see how we sat on this R1 for 5 weeks almost, and we keep pulling back. And again, this matches this in a way, because it says, if we stay here, we're going to go up, versus if we don't, if we break this zone, we're going to fall back down to this order block, 370 would be like the final support level based on the pivots. But so right now the resistance looks to be sitting around 700 as far as the upside target. And the pitchfork, I keep coming back to the pitchfork. I just think it's super interesting. I think it's like the most clear way to just draw an uptrend, especially one that's been going on since 2015. So you can see we're kind of sitting outside of the this quartile, and we're drifting into the blue, the buy zone as some people like to call it. But if we change to the daily, and it sort of fixes the looseness of the pitchfork, we can see we're really like still in the quartile, this second quartile here. And since October 2015, we haven't remained for many days in this blue quartile here. So that, based on that alone, tells me that there's some probability that, you know, here's another decision point. We aren't going to stay here for much longer, just based on since we've been up in this zone. That doesn't mean it will happen. It just means that based on what I'm seeing, that probability is telling me we're going to go up versus down here. Daily cloud says absolutely nothing. We're in sideways mode, super sideways hard mode. Again, I think 2 weeks. We've hit the flat Kumo already. We're sitting at it. I'm waiting for Kijun to sort of meet Tenkan-sen, the blue line, the red to the blue line. You can see what I mean by like meeting price here. Everything sort of waited until that happened. So I'm waiting for the same thing here. So that says, you know, this basically moving average takes a long time to catch up with everything, considering what happened over here. And again, here's another example of that, where TK lines sort of need to converge or get close to the price before anything really happens. Here's a very loose cup and handle on the daily. I haven't seen anybody post about this, probably because it doesn't exist. This almost turned into the cup and handle show, but I decided not to do that. So again, this is not, I repeat, not your traditional cup and not your traditional handle, but I'm going to fib it out. I'm going to draw it out. It might be there. Here's the measured cup, the measured target. The target makes sense based on the resistance. The handle looks good. The cup looks really bad, but I don't know. I'll be following it. Here's the daily 5200 EMA. You can see we're back above the 50. That's bullish. We didn't stay below the sort of middle zone. This is kind of like the pitchfork, how, you know, since 2015 we've basically been above the 50 EMA, barring a few events. I think, yeah, this is the Mike Hearn rage quit. This was the BFX hack. So it takes a lot, is what it's telling me. It takes a lot of momentum. It takes basically a black swan / news event to break below the 50, which I think is super, super bullish. You can see we broke here, but that was sort of like the fake out. I don't know. You can rationalize that all you want, but the most stark examples are definitely Bitfinex dying and Mike Hearn rage quit. So it's bullish. This is 4 hour, again, mostly sideways. I posted some values on Twitter. I was saying, basically, if we go above 611, we're going to go up. If we go below 596, we're going to go down. Why did I say that? I'm looking at the cloud here. You know, again, not rocket science, but if you look at sort of this order block, this zone, you can see we've stayed in it, you know, this whole time. So if we suddenly break that, that says we're done in this order block potentially, and are ready for the next order block, the next zone, some movement, and some non-sideways action. Next couple charts are just horizontals and diags drawn a few different ways. Crypto Orca does this really well on Twitter. I'll link him up. But again, you're looking at market memory, you're looking at horizontal support resistance levels. I've mentioned this a few times. Anytime you see a triangle, the point of the triangle is always support resistance. In this case, it's resistance because we broke down. The next thing I'm looking at is the next, push up, which lines up with everything else, arguably. Even this like pit stop here makes sense in context with all this stuff. And again, we're sitting at a support based on previous resistance. And then lastly, you can see this support makes sense based on where we bounced from and where price sort of sat and bounced from on the last leg up. And then there's some diag stuff that no one really likes but me. So it's hard to tell because most of the time you can just keep drawing triangles infinitely, whether or not this point means anything. So really your better bet is just stick with horizontals. Here's that drawn a little differently. Again, horizontals are all the same. Diags are a little different. I'm taking from the top point down. This kind of looks like a fib fan, but I've never really played around with fib fans. But this says, based on the diag, we're getting close to some action, but I don't really see that being the case on any other time frame. Here was a cup and handle I posted last night on the 30-minute. I think I posted the chart somewhere on this candle. I was saying watch for it. It's developing. This is a great example of why you wait to enter the trade until the pattern completes, because obviously this pattern didn't play out. They don't all play out. The lower the time frame, the lower the probability that they'll play out. The cup formation is arguable, just like the other cup I highlighted on the daily. I think it's definitely there. There's something there, at least. The handle looked good, but it didn't play out. So that's fine. You shouldn't have been in the trade anyway if you're trying to play the cup and handle. You wait until the horizontal of the cup is broken. That's your entry point, just like I highlight here on this long stop ratio thing. And then lastly, I like to look at premiums. I keep trying to correlate it with stuff that's probably meaningless, but I'm looking at, so blue, I've said this a few times, but blue is quarterly premium, green is weekly premium, the line is China minus the West. I'll post a link to this in the description if you want to add it to your TradingView chart, the indicator that is. So I'm looking at, right now there's currently no weekly premium. That doesn't bode well for movement, in my opinion. I'm kind of comparing it to this zone of sideways nothingness. I don't really know why this is. This could be that quarterly just opened. This could be that people on weekly don't think this will go up within this week, which I'm sort of in that camp. But you can see quarterly is pretty bullish as far as for the quarter. It's sitting at $20 right now. But, near term, within the week, 2 weeks, I don't really think anything is going to happen. We might see some movement just to get some margin calls rolling within the next day or two based on whale calls. Something else on Twitter. I'll link that up. That reports all the margin calls larger than a certain contract size on OKCoin. And generally, every 8 days, something gets reproduced that's reportable. We're currently on day 7 of the last whale call roll call. So based on that, again, loose evidence, there's some movement. I'm currently in a small long, but I don't really expect much to happen for at least a week, probably 2 weeks. That's all I have for today. Any questions, let me know. Like, share, dislike, comment, subscribe. Happy trading.